There's a criminal structure to things, and at the top of the structure you find occultists who are in secret societies, and their membership includes people who have controlling interest in major conglomerates and corporations. They are above the mafia. The mafia thrives to be like them. That's why at one point they made rules where it was illegal for them to sell drugs, because they were trying to be like these legitimate secret society businessmen who are above the law and get away with everything. They tried to infiltrate the law the way they have, and so on and so forth. The mafia is pretty much a group with links to masonry, but not strong enough connections to keep them from running afoul of the law, but well enough connected to where they got away with a whole lot for a whole long time, and most of their crimes they will never be prosecuted for. They would bury people at construction sites, and so on and so forth. What I'm about to play you is a clip from the documentary Satanic Rituals, in parentheses, warning graphic. It was uploaded by Chich234, April 18, 2015. There's old footage of a satanic cult caught in the act of selling a human head. At this point, I would assert that the people buying the head were using a middleman, and the people doing the sacrifice were a bunch of drug addicts with links to white racist groups, white satanic groups, and white prison gangs. And the middlemen were selling the head to super rich people. I want you to ask yourselves, on the black market, how much would a human head sell for? Keep in mind that the prices of things on the black market takes into consideration, the sellers take into consideration how much risk goes into it, not just the price of it, not just its value. For example, if you were to sell a nuclear bomb, how much risk do you take to sell it? If you were to sell cocaine, considering that there are serious sentences, 20 years and above in some cases, how much does that reflect in the street price? So you have a little gram of cocaine sells for tons of money. Some places a gram might go for as much as $150 or more. It's a little gram of cocaine. Now, how much would a human head sell for? Where would you find the buyers? And how could you find them if not for having a cult or a secret society network?
FBI agents were to descend into a world of madness so perverse as to be unthinkable. They had this house under surveillance for almost 3 months, and tonight they were about to put the sting on the criminals. You got something for me? Comings and goings indicated drugs were being dealt. When the agents observed the transaction outside the house, they quickly moved in. Two teenage women were discovered inside the house, their hands covered with blood. On the wall, written in what appeared to be blood, were the words, "Release the fiend that lies within you." Candles, bizarre necklaces, satanic Bibles, and other evidence of devil worship were strewn around the house. When a box was opened, agents were shocked to find the contents were not drugs, but a fully severed human head. The blood on the neck was...
I'd like to pause it. There's two things I want to bring up. One, I'm not showing you the picture on the screen because of copyright issues. And it's graphic. They might let this person get away with it and get 250,000 plus views, but they probably won't let me get away with it. Two, it is very important that you know that the FBI thought that this was a drug bust. They were there for drugs. Had they known that this has to do with national security and the satanic cults and secret societies that control the government, they would have left it alone.
Further investigation revealed the aftermath of a particularly grisly homicide. Though the young women refused to talk to the officers, it was apparent they were involved in some sort of ritualistic murder. So the agents had seen the bloody aftermath of many cult activities. This was the first time they had ever heard of a victim being sacrificed and the head sold for profit.
The victim being sacrificed and the head sold for profit. Now, ever since, first of all, I'd like to apologize to all the Northerners who I don't have a problem with, but this has to come out. The reason why I implicated the Northerners as possible suspects in the Sierra Lamar case, which I didn't come out with at the time, but now that we're way beyond that, was that homeboys or Northerners had told me that some rich people offered a lot of money for, to kidnap young women as part of their, secret rituals or whatever. They didn't use the term secret rituals, but they implicated and they indicated that, there was a lot of money being offered for people who can bring them, females, young females, under the age of 14, and around the and between I believe it's at 12 and 17 or something like that. Those two categories, and there was two different prices, and they were bragging about this. And so I said, that's interesting, and I didn't really think anything of it at the time. And then when I seen on the side of the road the suspect, I didn't know he was a suspect at the time, staring at me hard. I'm thinking, why is this guy staring at me hard? I'm driving down the road. He's wearing, he's dressed like a Northerner, and there's another guy dressed like a Northerner in the car, a bigger guy, bigger Hispanic guy. So later on, I see him on the news. I'm like, that's that guy. So I felt like, okay, I put one and one together. I also knew that the government was stalking me, and, they were following me through Morgan Hill, and there was a lot of people involved in mental health. So, I just thought I'd bring that up. Now, when you look at gang stalking, okay, right now I'm going to show you, on the side, there's pictures of satanic cults. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that one. Damn it. Am I going to do it that way? Fuck it, I'll do it that way. I kind of like the way I looked. I just cut my own hair. I did a pretty good job. I can't even get my hair cut because I've gone to 3 different barbershops in the San Jose area. 2 in San Jose, 1 in Morgan Hill. And they all mess up my hair on purpose, And people have come up to me and said, as soon as you stop making them look bad, we'll stop making you look bad. And they said things along the lines of, we're willing to help you once you admit that what you're doing isn't fair. And of course, what I'm doing is fair. They're trying to twist things, trying to say things like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but yet they can't claim the prize money for proving me wrong because obviously I'm right. So, yes. What I was going to show you a picture of the Matrix guy, and I was going to show you a picture of these cult guys from this satanic rituals video. They have this, if you go to the video, you'll see there's this bunch of guys, very straight face. They're very clean looking. They look, like they're well off in life, upper middle class, upper class. These are the type of people who make, I venture to say they make, $300,000 a year plus, all the way up to, multi-million-dollar, businessmen, multi-billion-dollar in some cases. And they're all, doing a satanic ritual. Now, I think it is rather absurd, the notion that satanic cults aren't in charge. I'm going to give you 2 very, very straightforward, very obvious reasons, very precise reasons. I'm going to put this in a very concise way. You see, going back to Babylon and Egypt, there was cults in charge. The Pharaoh was considered a certain position in the cult. He was the highest of the high priests. He was the representative of God on earth. And he had a certain relationship with the high priests, and the cults of Amun and of Ra and Horus and so on were highly involved in politics. Now some of you say, well, that's ancient Egypt. Well, going on through Rome, you see the same thing. You see the Saturnalia cults. You see the different gods cults, Mars, the god of war. You see Mithra. You see Eastern cults and Western cults in the Roman Empire, and at one point with Caesar, and and so on. You see them starting to adopt Egyptian pagan statues, and that's why part of the reason why Julius Caesar, I believe, gets killed, and then of course Mark Antony and so on, and Cleopatra, and so on. And also, later on, you start seeing, you know, the royal families starting to emerge. The royal families of England and France and so on. And these people kept in touch with their roots. You know, there's a lot of rituals and symbols that go back to an ancient time. So I think it is rather absurd to assert that we still have these symbols, we still have these rituals, but we don't have any culture around it. You know, well, we're just going to keep these symbols, have no idea what they're meaning. You know, we're just keeping them because they kept them. You know, rituals, ceremonies. There are groups that make sure these things stay the way, quote unquote, they're supposed to be. Okay? There's no way around it. We still have cults in charge. Period. Let's not forget that the world is structured so the most ruthless criminal rises to the top. A dog-eat-dog world, so the most ruthless pack of dogs or dog becomes the main pack or the alpha male. That's the way the world is structured. The same way the drug trade was structured. The infrastructure of the drug trade is to reflects the people who bring in the drugs. You know, people would think that, oh, they have their own infrastructure, you know, in Colombia and all this, but they don't have infrastructures in America. Of course, we know from the Zetas and other organized crime that, of course, they do actually have an infrastructure in America. And that infrastructure includes the different ethnic groups. They have different deals with different ethnic groups, but the infrastructure and the way it's laid out is all the same. And the plausible deniability and the layered security they have is pretty much the same, where, you know, it's all well thought out. You know, the drugs are sold by these gang members who buy apartments from people, rich people who are in secret groups and private clubs. They buy jeans from Levi's Jeans and, you know, and Echo, you know, that's what they used to buy when I was younger. You know, these designer jeans are owned by people who are affiliated to secret societies and who are funded and financed by secret societies who have invested a lot in their companies. These people buy champagne, Cristal, which is owned by these rich aristocracy people, you know. They buy cars from Germany, Mercedes and BMW, which are all in turn owned by these rich people. Everything they buy, and then you have these, you know, the money goes back. These people, the secret societies have their hands in both pockets of these people, you know. One hand is giving them the drugs, and one hand is taking the money, giving them the drugs and taking the money for the drugs. The other hand is taking out the money because how they spend the money. They go to the clubs. Clubs are owned by organized crime in a lot of cases, which in turn, you know, are, you know, under the control of secret societies. Well, I'm almost out of time, so let me wrap this up. So it is pretty much ridiculous to think that there aren't cults in charge of the world. You know, it is pretty much impossible for there not to be when you truly look at it and you truly think about how things work. And the fact that we have Jesuits around still, and this goes back hundreds of years, we have Opus Dei and so on. We have groups that claim to be descendants of Knights Templars around. And, you know, it is, when you consider everything, you know, could it possibly be that there aren't cults with power that control things? Could it possibly be that they're not affiliated with secret societies, that there's not levels of teaching, just like there's levels in the military and levels of security clearance, you know? So certainly there are cults that run the world and that control the underworld. There's an underworld structure. I'm gonna be honest, I forgot the other point I was gonna make, you know. There's been a lot going on. They're drugging me covertly. I've proven that in my other videos. These people are rapists. You know, part of the rituals includes rape. It goes way back to when, you know, I believe it was the movie Braveheart, where he was upset because part of the reason I believe it was the Scottish were upset because they had this ritual of the noblemen or the, you know, the royalty or whoever they were being allowed to sleep with the people who, you know, wives when they first married them. I mean, this stuff goes way back. It's a continuance. There's no way around it. You know, I'm out of time. It's a shame. I wanted to get to the other point. If I think of it, I'll make a part 2. I'm making a lot of videos, so, you know, well, I guess I'm out of time, so thank you.